All right, everybody, got another case study to bring you today, and this is going to be Mr. Alex Delatorre. He's somebody I've talked to. We've had a few conversations over the phone. We've never actually met, even though he's basically,
Yeah.
even though he's in my backyard. I met him kind of tangentially through Will, our co-founder of Skip Genie, and he does a lot of different things. And one thing I know, I've heard just through other people, is that Alex takes action. He's not a analysis paralysis type guy. You get an idea, you hear something, just implement. And so happy to talk with you today. If you don't mind, Alex, you could just kind of give just a brief background, kind of where you came from, how you got into real estate, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, man. So my story's a bit on the long side, so I'll condense it down. But I moved to Houston. I'm originally from San Francisco, California. I moved to Houston back in July of 2000. I moved here with the intent to get into real estate, but at that time I had a carpet cleaning business in California, and I came here and started working for somebody when I got here, and then eventually started my own carpet cleaning company, and that was around July of 2001. And so, of course, September 11 happened, and that went really up. So had to scramble and figure out what else to do pretty quickly. And at that time, I went to work for a company that they did a lot of rehabbing for apartment complexes. And so got into that, learned how the whole thing was. And then along the way, I was also a member of the Rich. I got into the Rich Club and just, back in the day when it was huge, and got some really good friends out of it, and got some pointers and started, getting into flipping houses. So, I've been flipping houses since 2003, I think.
I had no idea you've been doing it that long.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. And what I also did, so this is, it's funny that as I was flipping houses and I was working for that other company, I decided to go on my own. And so the way to offset my income, I started doing rehabs for hire for other investors. I had a company, still have it actually, Global Renovations is how I do my rehabs now. And I did that for 2005, 2006, I think. And then I opened up Trinity Foundation Repair, which I've owned till about 3 years ago when I sold it. And we did foundation repair for investors, and we did that all over the state. So I got to meet a lot of cool investors, a lot of friends I made out of it, and just got to work in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. And so all that to tell you that about 2016, I decided to so actually let me back up. I was flipping by myself till about 2008 when the market, at least that's when I felt it, when the market tanked.
Yeah.
So at that point, I didn't do anything for a year or two, and then I had a friend. A lot of people might know him, Stan Hallett, here in the Houston area, but he was a big-time flipper. Did a lot of deals in the Heights, flipped a lot of houses in the Heights, and then later in Oak Forest. And so we kind of he took me under his wing, and really good mentor of mine, and we did some high-end flips together. We did about 8 or 9 of them a year. And so for those of you who know the higher end stuff, it's not a 2-month rehab, right? It's a 4 or 5 month rehab. And long story short, after years, we parted ways amicably. But I was the legwork, right? I was the grunt man. I did all the work. I did all the contractors, everything. He was the realtor. He was the investor. He was also the money, or got the money. But he also found the deals. And so when that happened, I was left with a lot of energy and nowhere to do deals.
Yeah.
So that's when I started looking into wholesaling. I have a lot of friends who are in the business, I mentioned, from just doing transactions and in general. So I got into trying to learn how to wholesale, and I had some really good friends and mentors, paid a few people to help me and train me. And the biggest training that I got, well, Will, you mentioned Will is a great mentor and friend of mine. Funny, he lives, or he still lives there. I've moved since, but he lived about 2 blocks from my house. So we spent a lot of time together, and I know he's a huge wholesaler here in town. So I got to learn a lot from him and pointers from him and stuff. So, but the other side of it too was I paid for Sean Terry's course. a lot of people might know me from that, is I took Sean Terry's course. He had a special going. It's funny, he had a special going for New Year's, and I bought the course, I think December 29th, and I just, started listening to it, and I just got hooked on it, and I listened through it that entire weekend. And so I started literally investing January 2nd of 2017. When I say that, I started, Fast House Buyers came about right around that time because I said, I'm going to go into this full speed.
So when you say you started investing, you mean you started marketing?
Wholesaling. Yeah, I apologize. I should investing. Wholesaling, I should say. So I started wholesaling or marketing to wholesale. I had done I think I had done 3 or 4 previous wholesale deals during that whole time, even when I paid the other mentors. But I mean, something resonated with me with Sean's way of doing things. And contrary to other people who have, no money, no credit, trying to get into the business. And I respect that. I wasn't there, right? I actually had money. I had credit. I had confidence. I was a flipper.
Yeah.
Part of it was me wanting to get some inventory for me, right? So I went into it, and I mean, I think I dropped like $15,000 in marketing that first month, and we ended up doing like 16 deals. I mean, it was crazy. And I had to scramble and partner up with people because I didn't know how to sell them. That's the other thing. I bought houses for me, but the thing is, you can't consume everything. So I started finding people to partner with, and so that's how I got those 16 deals done in the beginning, and then from there it just took off. And for the record, all that was done through pay-per-click. So people say, "Well, how did you do it?" Pay-per-click. I spent a lot of money on pay-per-click, and back then it wasn't as much. Competition. But the other thing too was, I've always been pretty technical. I've always known how to use computers very well. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it just like a duck to water. So I was able to do it. And it was funny. I would work during the day and I spend a lot of time at night messing around with AdWords. And I learned it quickly and I got it well. And long story short, I mean, we were killing it for a while there.
So you got 16 deals off of that $15,000 spend?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't you love to be able to do that today?
Oh, dude. I mean, so what's funny is I kept going at it, right? So here's one thing that I learned really early on, and I'll tell you, a lot of people that are scaling. I have a lot of friends that are scaling right now, growing their business. It's like what you spend to get your first 10 deals or your first 5 deals, it doesn't necessarily relate or correlate. If I spend another $15,000, I should get another 16. It never works that way. Yeah. As you start scaling up, it gets harder and harder, right? So your cost per deal gets larger. Yep. So that's where the idea, so what I spent all of 2017 doing pay-per-click, and then it shifted. I don't know how, I don't know why, I can't tell you, but a lot of people got on, a lot of people started, so there was more competition, fighting for words, fighting for deals, and so it got to the point where it wasn't lucrative anymore. So at that point, I had to start looking for other options, and that's where that's where I guess you hear people say that whenever I heard there was a new thing, I would go after it, try it out because I've been in so I had that one lead source. That was the only lead source I had. When that dried up, it almost put me out of business. Yeah. So I had to learn how to adjust quickly and try new things. So now we literally try new things, even though we don't have to be ready for the next thing.
That's it. There's always the next thing coming. And that's one thing I've learned since I've jumped into real estate is once something works, it's just a matter of time before it gets out there. A lot of investors are connected through, Facebook, masterminds. It's like you better maximize the use of that marketing channel while you can before it becomes saturated, because it gets saturated.
Right.
If something works, there's going to be a course on it in 6 months. And everybody,
right.
That's just the way it is. You can bang your head up against the wall, but that's just the reality.
I don't see that as a problem. A lot of people, here's what I'll tell you is I don't see competition as a problem. I mean, if you're a businessman, you should expect that, right? I mean, so the problem is a lot of people are doing this from a standpoint of either they're actually truly investing, which I'd say very few people. Wholesaler is not an investor. I don't think that's an investor. I think it's a glorified realtor, really, right? Yeah. We get paid very well for what we do. Don't get me wrong. I've made a good living from it. but I don't think it's nothing more than a glorified realtor. We're not investors. And so we treat it like a business, investing in itself. So, when people are getting into wholesaling, I think one of the biggest challenges that people are getting into it because they think that this is going to retire them. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. This is worse than a job, because you're got to pay a lot of money up front. You got to put a lot of work up front. It may not pay out. Generally, it does. I mean, if you put in the work and the energy and you do things right, it will. But there's no guarantee, right? So that's what I think a lot of people that are doing this business, they just jump in and don't realize that there's a lot more to it.
Well, you jumped in when you first started your marketing. You said you spent is a $15,000 spend your first month.
Yeah,
it worked out great for you. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The flip side, the horror stories were new people who don't know what they're doing. Just like, hey, I can just throw some money at it, and deals are just going to happen. And
right.
That's 5 or 10,000. In some cases, they really can't afford that 5 or 10,000, and they get a grand total of 0 deals. It's like, oh crap, what do we do now?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I want something not to be missed in what I said. I could have not gotten any deals.
Yeah.
And the reason I say I could have not gotten any deals is because I didn't know how to sell those properties. So instead of being paralyzed with fear of what to do, I went and found people that knew what to do and slid the pie. And I don't care if I would have taken less. Ended up being 50-50, but if you take into consideration that I paid for the marketing, I got less than 50%. And I didn't care because the reality is I didn't know what to do. So, one thing I find a lot of times with people who are jumping into any business, not just real estate, we're talking about wholesaling. So any new wholesalers, they're so eager to get everything 100% of the transaction because they're afraid. They don't realize there's more transactions to come. I knew immediately that if I could do 16 in 1 month, the sky's the limit, right? And so I didn't care if I only made 50% of that. And so for about the first 3 months, I took smaller assignment fees or percentages, right? I took 50% of the assignment fees. And I like to tell you that all of them were 10, 20, 40, 50,000. That's not true. I mean, some of them were 8, some of them were 3, at least on my end. And then I found some good buyers that were just, they told me what they wanted. I went looking for it, and I just kept feeding it to them. And even to this day, I still don't have a disposition manager. I tried to sell everything. A true wholesaler or a true wholesaler in the distribution business is someone that takes something from a manufacturer and then distributes it to the end seller, right, to the end user. I take the house from a homeowner, and then I turn around and funnel it through different other wholesalers. I use other wholesalers to sell my properties today. That's how I've been able to scale down my company and still be effective.
That's like you talk about, basically you're doing a deal split. When you got all those deals, you couldn't move them. It's like you partner with people, they help move them, you do a deal split.
Right. So Will, I did a few deals with Will actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, we, in Skip Gene, we get some newer members and they'll get on a weekly call and, hey, I don't know what to do. Can't move it. I'm like, hey, worst case scenario, partner with somebody and you make 50%. The 50% is a hell of a lot better than 0. Well,
it's paid learning, right?
Exactly.
You're paying to learn. You're getting paid to learn. So I tell that I think people just don't understand. If you're in it for the long term, learn, right? Learn how to do things and try things and test things. And, I guarantee you, it's funny. I don't have people bringing me deals ever, really. I don't market for that, but I still to this day partner up with people when I run into a situation that I don't know how to sell this. I mean, I've done deals in Georgia, I've done deals all over Dallas, San Antonio, and all. Yeah. And I don't have boots on the ground. And so what I do is find somebody out there, and I give a lot of credit to Will for that. He taught me that, that call the people in that area and find out, who wants to do business. Yep. Most people are good people, right? Especially in this business. Most people are in it to try to help. And so, but at the end of the day, we're all in it to try to make money. So if you're willing to share your piece of it, people are willing to teach you, hell, I mean, I was around when Steve Genie was, first started out, and I know that the skip tracing, I got into it a little bit later, but I know that a lot of people, and like you guys who started doing it, were just killing it at first. And, I remember telling Will, like, man, how are you guys doing it? And the reality was, he goes, a lot of them are being brought to us. And there was some deals that were being brought to you guys. And I don't know if it was students or what. And what ended up coming to that, I was like, dude, are you guys, so you're helping these people? He goes, yeah. And they're actually interested in having you guys help them. He goes, yeah, because they realize that if we were not around, they would not get this deal.
Yeah.
And that was a big impact, because I learned that if it had not been for some of the people that I work with, I would have never gotten some of those deals done. Now, mind you, I learned. And so the thing is, what we do is not rocket science. It was easy to learn. Once I learned it, I was able to do it on my own. But yeah, I mean, the proof of concept for me, Sean Terry calls it the oh shit check. Oh shit, this week, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was for me what that was.
So I'm glad we talked. So like, I knew you had a foundation company. Just to recap, you actually started. You're an entrepreneur by heart, apparently, because I didn't know that whole history.
Yeah, I'm unemployable.
Yeah, carpet cleaning, the flipping, and then plus the foundation repair, and then into the wholesaling and learning to market and generate your own deals. So PPC, you start off, you're doing pay-per-click. That gets a little bit too expensive. You start venturing out into other marketing channels. Is this about the time that you started using Skip Genie and skip tracing? So
2008, early 2008 is when we started jumping onto Skip Genie. I felt the hit. So the thing about when you're running marketing and you got your hand on the pulse as opposed to hiring it out to other people, you're the one doing it. You can feel the change happening, or it's almost instant. And so I started feeling the pay-per-click not working pretty early on. And then not only was I the marketer, I was also the one running appointments. So I was able to tell that this was changing. So that's when I started jumping onto Skip Genie. And so what we started with was, if I remember correctly, one thing I haven't done a lot of is cold calling. I've always been more along the lines of RVM or texting.
Yep.
And so we started texting. I mean, and when I say texting, I mean, it was literally a person texting. There was no bulk skip trace or bulk texting and stuff. Here recently, or in the last year, we started looking for platforms to use, but texting, email. That's another thing I used to do a lot of, was a lot of email blasts.
Yep.
I mean, I've got kicked out of every platform, mail. So that worked for a little bit, and then until it didn't, and then we had to find something else. And so
that's one thing that got my attention when you first started using us. You didn't tell me, but the guys in the office were telling me kind of how you're using the data, and you were unique in that you're using it in multiple ways. A lot of people are they're only cold calling. At least back then, it's like we get the phone numbers, we're only going to cold call. You were doing the RVMs. I know you had stuff with email. I think you were trying to do some targeting or maybe some Facebook stuff as well with it.
Yeah. So what we started doing with Facebook was creating lists and trying to target them with a list. I got to be honest with you. I didn't really develop that out till just recently, and I just did a conversation with Chris Chico, a mutual friend of ours. So I know you just had a conversation with him, but I didn't get deep into Facebook till just recently, but that was my intent, was to create a list and start trying to develop that and have it retarget. So it was really primarily voicemail drops and the texting. So when we really took off was when we learned how to do text blasting at a massive scale. Now, I want to point something out is very risky, because there is a lot of fines that can come out of texting, and so I'm not encouraging you to do it.
Neither Alex. I'm not an attorney. Alex isn't an attorney. He's not saying it's legal. Yeah. He's just saying
no. It's totally legal. But I want to point out that to me, it was a cost of business, right? If there was some risk, I was okay with it. When you own a foundation company and you're in you give a lifetime warranty, risk comes naturally. Yeah. So I was able to do that, and I did it. I will say that now that I've seen, when I first got into so it's all telecommunications, right? We started doing telecommunication marketing. when we got into it, it wasn't as big. It may even cold calling was big, but text blasting wasn't big, and voicemail dropping wasn't big. So I got to do a lot of it. Now I'm actually looking at other options because I could see regulation about to come down. You know, there's a lot of people in other states that are starting to get fined and chased, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time. And hell, I hate them. Right? I get all those robocalls and dialers and texts and all that, and so I wouldn't doubt if something comes up here pretty soon and starts bringing regulation down. So I'm not telling you to do it. It might be a little bit too late. Do it. And if you want to do it, great. I know it works. Dude, anything works. Anything works that you do consistently.
Exactly. And for you, it's risk reward, and you're like the reward outweighs the risk for me.
Absolutely.
That's what everything comes down to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you're not doing a lot. So right now you're still doing. I know you're still doing skip tracing.
Yeah, I just ordered 8,000 skips for this. I'll say this month, but we're not even finished with the month, right? So yeah.
Well, it's funny because we have different customer types inside of Skip Genie. Like the last case study I did is a guy that he's very, very targeted. He's a solo operator. It's just him. He does cold calls. He probably doesn't spend, I think he said $200-300 a month. I mean, but he puts a lot of time and energy into doing research and stuff.
Right.
Like that. And then we have other guys, that just send out a ton of RVMs, or they do a mix of cold calls, RVMs, and text. And there's no right or wrong way.
No.
But if you need volume, if you have crews you need to keep busy and things like that, you're probably going to go towards that volume side and need a higher volume.
It wasn't a volume thing, and that's funny that you say that. One thing I learned from Sean Terry and being a part of the boardroom in the past was it's a lifestyle-driven business, right? I mean, if you want to go out and buy houses in flip-flops in this business, you could, because it allows for that, right? If you want to go out in a suit, I know people who wear suits, right? I'm more of a cowboy. I wear shirts and boots every day. I say shirts, collared shirts and boots every day. I mean, that's just the lifestyle. And this business allows for it. This industry allows for it. And so, at the end of the day, it should be a lifestyle-driven business. And for me, it wasn't a bulk thing. It wasn't to keep people busy. It was really more about, I know the research you guys put into when you guys look for properties from having talked to Will, and I'm like, man, I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of energy. That's not my forte. I know you're a 10 at that, right? So for me, it was a shotgun approach. I know we were talking about fishing. You go out and you're a pole fisherman. I'm a drag boat fisherman, right? I throw a net out and I catch everything that's at the bottom of the sea. I get tunas, I get flounders, I get, redfish. I don't care. The truth is, as a wholesaler, I shouldn't care. So I respect the people that put all the time and energy, and that's the reason I don't do it. Is it's a lot of time and energy, and there's great results from it. But what we do works, and for me, it's because it's a plug and play. I mean, I literally, we got at this point where VAs kind of do all the stuff, and a lot of kudos to my team now.
Yeah, I'll say this about the model. Your model in general allows for a lot more automation and process that you don't have to be a part of it.
That's right.
Maybe step in on the back end if you need help negotiating or closing the deal, whatever, and you may have to do that for you. But you can train a VA to pull a list and send them the Skip Genie, get them skip trays, get the data back. It allows for systems. So point of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point, right? For me, it was easy, scalable, and keep in mind, another thing I didn't talk about was when I've been in 4 or 5 markets already. I mean, for me, it was natural to just go into San Antonio, Dallas, and Fort Worth, and Austin because I already had the foundation company out there in the past, so I had connections. But we went all the way to Georgia. We did deals in Atlanta. I've toned it back a lot since for personal reasons, but it's just a matter of turning it up.
So what led you to jump into a whole nother state in Atlanta specifically, or Georgia?
Man, the rock star lifestyle. That's the right answer. And I thought it was me, right? When I say that is, I thought I was a genius. And so everyone that gets into a business, you started doing it and you're having success, you think it's you. And what you don't realize, it really comes down to hard work, right? Yep. So as hard as you put in, the amount of work you put into it is how much success you'll have. The real challenge has always been when you hand that work off to someone else. And so for me, the biggest challenge was always scaling was people, management. When you're 10 at sales or you're 10 at something, you never think anyone else can do it. Not as good as you, right? So I had to literally get out of my own way and get out of my head and quit sabotaging myself and start letting other people do things. And that's how we've been able to grow now. Where we could have, if there was ever a time I had the capacity to jump into other cities, it's now. And we're still not doing it because I still think that it should be, I know how you guys grew Skip Genie, so it should be a natural growth, right? The business itself forces itself to grow. Yeah. And, it's funny, I did that with the foundation company, but with the wholesaling company, I wanted to grow it just overnight. And so that's why I did it. I did it because I thought it was sexy. I was like, oh man, I'm in Georgia. I wanted to get into Florida. And it could have, but
especially when you already know how to do stuff virtually in other markets, it's like, hey, if I can do it in Dallas, a state line is not, I can cross the state line. If I can do it in Dallas, I can do it in Atlanta.
Right.
I can do it in San Diego, whatever. Minus the nuances of different markets, but you know how to do it virtually.
Right.
So it's very appealing. And trust me, I get it.
Yeah. I think, for right now, one of the biggest challenges I have right now for myself is to get to the point where I don't run any more appointments in Houston, where I have a team virtually, even in Houston, right? So I mentioned I had a team. I actually had a full-blown office, phone systems, sales guys, everything. I had at one point probably 9-10 people working. And right now, I probably have 10 people working for me, but they're all VAs. They all work at different. When I say VAs, they're not all offshore. There are people here in Houston, but they don't work from home. They run appointments, and but I also learned that you got to let people develop, and as they develop, your company grows. And so I took this from someone else said it on a podcast, but basically each one teach one. So I made it a point where when we have someone doing something well, they teach someone else in the company. We hire somebody and they teach someone else. And so that's how we've been able to start scaling again. It's funny, but I have no desire. I say I have no desire. That's not true to say, but I have no urgency to scale anymore. As we start bringing people on, the business itself is going to push for it. We were just having a conversation about bringing some sales guys on. I said, well, how many leads can we get them in a day to call? And they're like, well, we probably get them 8 a day. Well, that's not good enough. How do we do more? Well, we just got to open up another market or open up, different lists. So we're doing certain lists now. And so it came down to deciding whether we take high pain point lists, do another market, or we go for less motivation and start, nurturing those leads. And so for me, the simple answer is open up another market with a high pain point list, because those are the ones that are going to convert better, right? And the other thing that we talked about was turning the internet back on. I haven't run Google ads in over a year, and I know they work. Hell, I still get leads from my websites and the SEO that I have. Hell, I just bought a house right now worth $140. I paid $43 for it. From my website sitting there. Yeah. No marketing, no nothing. So I was like, well, maybe I should that's where I'm gonna flip that one, by the way. So I'm not wholesaling. I'm gonna flip it. And I was like, well, I'll take the money that I make from that and turn the internet back on. But right now, what I'm working through is sales, right? Sales is, I think, it's funny, you could start a support group. It's almost like an AA meeting just for sales, salespeople. That's the hardest thing that I think this business has is reliable salespeople.
Yeah, that's a common challenge. Yeah. So it's so we kind of went over your background. You very diverse background there, getting into real estate. You had a long path heading that direction.
Yeah.
Up into PPC, and you have the issues there with price. Then you say, hey, Will, the co-founder of Skip Genie, you know what we were doing. You say, hey, I'm going to try the skip tracing thing out. That was probably almost 2 years ago, or close to it.
Yeah, beginning of 2018.
Yeah, so it's been
a year and a half ago.
So you've adjusted, you've tweaked, you've tried different things with the data. So you're still doing it.
So, yeah.
So your other marketing channel wasn't as effective, so you tried this one. And so why do you keep? You're still doing it, so I guess it's still working for you. Is this your main marketing channel now, or do you?
Right now, it's probably the biggest source of our leads. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot more Facebook marketing now. I'm growing. I'm tweaking and learning from it, because the reality is that one is a new one for me. And here's the other thing I'll tell you. I don't think there's a lot of people that have learned Facebook right. Man, I think Chris just figured something out. But on that note, it's not big enough to run a wholesaling business with. And so I'm still learning and tweaking that one. But right now, 80% of our deals are so I bought 6 houses this month. They all came from Skip Genie. I mean, I'm sorry, I take that back. One was the internet one. So 5 deals came from Skip Genie. And
I know you're pretty plugged in. You know a lot of different services, a lot of people, and a lot of different things out there. Why? We're not. Skip Genie isn't the cheapest data out there. I'm the first to say that.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But there's an old saying: sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
that's not always the case, but it definitely is with Skip Genie. So when you try we don't have to name any other names, but what's the benefit to sticking with Skip Genie as far as you're concerned?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think that I don't want to knock anyone else. I think their data's, I can't speak this for everyone, but I can tell you maybe 2 or 3 other companies out there do have good data.
Yep.
What they do is they're very selective about the data they give you. For example, they're cheap if you want to just phone numbers, right? But you don't get the emails, and you don't get the addresses, and you don't get the one of the biggest things for us with Skip Genie is it tells us whether they have judgments or liens against them. It tells us if they're dead or deceased or not, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of extra stuff that comes from Skip Genie that you don't get in other platforms, which for us has been instrumental. And I say this credit to you, because I know you spent like 2 hours on the phone with me one time explaining to me how to use that data to our advantage, because it's using filters, right? So each thing, if you want to reach people with higher motivation, the more filters they meet, the more check boxes they check off, the more pain they have, the easier it is to get the transaction. And so I don't think anyone else out there is giving all that data. Even if they're cheaper, the data doesn't come. And I've offered to pay, like, it's funny because I asked a couple of them, like, hey, if I pay you extra, would you do this? No, we don't do that. And
I can tell you there's a reason they don't, because they can't. But
yeah, there you go.
When people, here's a question you've probably seen posted on Facebook: what's a good skip trace service?
I just saw that. I love. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's every day.
What's funny is people that you and I both know too, and I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
So.
Well, but when I look at this, it's like, look, guys, the vast majority of what you're calling skip tracing is really data appending, and it's just a very limited data appending set. It's phone numbers. So, and all those services, they're just going to give you 3 phone numbers, because that's what they do. I'm not going to go into all the behind the scenes what they're doing to pull that data, but they're getting 3 phone numbers. With us, you might get 15, and it might be that 14th number that's the right number.
Right.
Generally, it's going to be in the top numbers provided, but or you can get just email. They'll provide just email addresses, or maybe they'll have an offering of 3 phone numbers and 3 email addresses.
Right.
But for me, a true skip trace data set, you're going to have everything: age, the deceased indicator, all the phone numbers, the names of relatives, the address history, the liens, judgments, and bankruptcy counts, and things like that. that gives you enough to try and figure out, not just contact somebody, but figure out what's going on if you can't.
Right.
And especially with what you do, let's say you run a list, you create a list of 10,000, you might need to prioritize that in some way. So you can take some of that data set, such as the liens and judgments and bankruptcies, and prioritize everybody that has a certain number of those to the higher, higher up on the list and things like that. There's 1,000 different ways to work with that. The key is you have the data there that you can create your own process and system to work it.
Right.
So it's one thing I always appreciate about you, besides the fact that you just implement. That's all Will's talked about, is like, Alex gets an idea, he doesn't just sit around thinking about it, he just implements. But you, early on, you appreciate the value of that full data set. And it's
dude, and I tell you what, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, like, when you just said that, it's like, fuck, I don't think I've ever mailed out. I need to start mailing out to all of. So, one of the things that so I'm going to tell you my cynical mind. I believe there's an opportunity to do what's called an ecosystem, right? Where you can connect Facebook and you can connect direct mail and you can connect, obviously cold calling, RVM, texting, all that stuff together. And man, I haven't dropped a mailer in years, in lots of years. And just as you said that, I was like, man, it gives us the current address of the owner, right? Like, why are we not mailing to them? And so people probably, that's what they do. And that's not what I do. And again, we do a lot of telecommunications, but one thing I'll tell you is I have not tapped into all the data that you have, that we have available to be able to put a message out to them properly, because we still do. One thing that's worked, hopefully this will help your people out. Be real genuine and be real direct to who you're targeting, because even though we pull 10,000 or 8,000 at a time, when it has the ability to add, that's something that's really cool about Skip Genie, is you can call the campaign whatever you want, right? So when we pull a list and we do after tax delinquents, we call it that. That's a campaign. So we pull in the tax delinquents, and then we pull in the so I'll just say foreclosures, right? Or pre-foreclosure, and then we do probates, and then we do, all the other, and every list you can think of. And we name them accordingly. And this is, a lot of people are going to say, this is crazy. Why you do this? You could just go and get a list stacker. I found it complex to do list stacking. I'd rather just put them in a different list, because I'll send sometimes to the same person 3 different messages. So if it's a foreclosure, hey, we can help you about your foreclosure. If it's so let's say the foreclosure is also a probate, and it's also an eviction. Okay, so hey, if you got that rental property, you want to get rid of it, let us know. Hey, sorry for your loss. I saw that you are in charge of the executive of the estate. I'd love to help you with that. And so the messages go out individually, as opposed to, hey, I'm an investor looking to buy your house. I mean, dude,
it's not that you're intentionally trying to hammer that person 3 times. It's that they that property showed up on 3 separate lists. So you're sending them 3 different unique messages.
That's right.
The process.
And if you know about marketing, it's really, again, I don't think list stacking is a bad thing. I would like sending them 3 touches, because in marketing, it's all about touches, right? The more touches you make, the more chances you have of buying. And so when we send them, plus the other thing, you don't know what's going to make them resonate, right? Yeah. It might piss them off that you're approaching them about the probate, but it might tickle them pink to talk about the eviction. So I don't want to choose how they want to communicate. I want to touch them and let them tell me how they want to communicate, or what, because sometimes they'll tell you, I have a house that's vacant, I'm trying to sell it. They don't tell you that it was grandma's house and they have to sell it now.
Yeah.
They don't go into that until later on in the conversation.
You mentioned list stacking. That is something that's getting more common. A lot of people are talking about it, and there's services out there to try and help with that. It is, like, there's definitely value to it. I never thought about it from what you just said. And so now, instead of hitting that lead 1 time with maybe some follow-up sequence, you're hitting it 3 times as much right off the bat.
With 3 follow-up sequences.
With additional follow-up sequences.
Right.
So grown exponentially. You've made that let's say it went from 3 touches, you hit it once as a single lead with 2 follow-ups. So 3 touches.
Right.
And now you go to 3 touches right off the bat and maybe 2 or 3 follow-ups there. It's 3 to 4 times as many touches just through your process.
Right.
I've never thought about that. That's brilliant, actually. That's
well, I mean, so, and what's interesting is the only reason you would do list stacking is for one of 2 reasons, in my opinion. Okay, or let me rephrase that. The only reason I would do list stacking is because I want to save money on marketing, or I want to reach out to people who have lots of pain points, right? So when I started doing list stacking, it was trying to find out the pain points. I've never been one to save money on marketing because, first of all, you have to understand, I paid $100 per click, not per lead, it was per click, right? So when you're telling me that I got to spend 15 cents between okay, so let me just throw a real number out. Let's say I've got to spend $1.50 between pulling the list, getting a skip trace, and doing 3 text blasts to that same number. $1.50. I mean, seriously, right? Let's double it. $3. It doesn't make sense. You're tripping over the dollars, to get to the pennies, because when you actually reach them, I mean, it's substantial. Really, the upside is huge, right? That's where paying $100 a click made sense, because you're still buying and making a huge spread on the upside. So when I went from pay-per-click to Skip Genie, I was like, dude, this is no problem. 8,000, sure. And I get it. There's a lot of people out there who are limited by resources, right? And I get that. Resources, whether, for the record, you're either spending money or you're spending time in this business, right? So I have the ability to spend money. And so if people have more time than money, then I respect that. Let them do a lot of that upfront work and be selective about the properties. And that way, whenever they get the call, it's about a house that they want, right? They've already pinpointed the 20, 30, 50, 100 houses that they really want, and they're getting a call. They know they're getting the car. They should be getting in their car and going over there, right? Because it's literally what they wanted. Yeah. We have to filter through it, find out if it's something we want. Do we have a buyer for it? Do I want it? The other thing is how much drama it is, because one of the other things that I've learned is some deals are just better to walk away from, man. I mean, they're so dramatic, right? And it's just like, dude, I'm out. I know you guys are 10 at that. You guys, some of the deals that you guys, I've heard you guys do, I would never chase. And not because it's not a lucrative. It's because I don't have the personality type for it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things again, one thing I want, it's a lifestyle driven business.
Yeah, and it is. And you can build a model and a system around what, do you want to, based off of how you like to market and how you like to set up a business. Do you want to have a bunch of employees that do everything? Or maybe you just can't even handle that. You're like, I just do it myself. But you're going to be the limiting factor in that. You're going to be the bottleneck in everything, but you're more comfortable with that. It's all about lifestyle and preferences.
Yeah. If I was to start today, so when I first started marketing, I did driving for dollars, I did bandit signs, I did all that stuff. If I could start all over today and I had access to Skip Genie, and I know there's apps out there and stuff that offer to do skip tracing for you as part of the driving for dollars. But, if you don't have money, dude, there should be no reason. If you don't have money, there should be no reason why you shouldn't be getting up an hour earlier every day or going to bed an hour later every day and driving for dollars.
Yep.
And skip tracing and calling them, texting them, emailing them, sending them letters. And when I say letters, dude, I'm talking about I'd even pay for a UPS, USPS, overnight delivery where you're actually, where they're going to open it, right? I mean, do everything in your power to get a hold of these people, because if they have a vacant house, the odds are they want to sell, right? Maybe not at the right price, maybe not today, but you can get them. And a friend of mine who does a lot of coaching for driving for dollars, he says that if you get 100 leads or 100 houses, you should get a buy out of that. And so, how fast can you get to 500 houses?
And there's especially in a major metropolitan area in Houston, if you're if you're in a large city like this, there's no reason you go get 100 houses. You can do that in no time.
Every neighborhood has them. Yeah, every neighborhood has 3 or 4 of them.
And there's different things that we talk about that I could even tell people you don't even need to run the full 100 right now. Here's how you can prioritize and find your top 20 out of. Not all vacant houses are equal.
Right.
So, but vacant houses in general are awesome. So I like what you touched on. That's how I went down this path. I had money to market. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was mailing, but I kept hearing people say, "Hey, if you're having trouble getting deals or you don't have money, go find vacant houses." It's like, well, hell, if vacant houses are so easy and if there's so many deals there, let me just get really good at this. That's how it all started. And there was a lot of truth to it. You're talking about it now, vacant houses. So I'm with you on 100%.
Here's a funny question, just out of curiosity. What if you had to start all over, knowing what you know now and the resources that are out there, what would you do to get to your first deal?
Drive for dollars and prioritize those vacant houses based on tax delinquency, the condition of the house. Is it obviously abandoned and neglected and deceased or elderly owners? I probably because let's say I only had $100. Okay, I'll go find those houses through free resources, the appraisal district, and things. I can figure out which ones are the most distressed, and then I can even limit how much skip tracing I have to spend on skip tracing, because instead of chasing 100, I'm just going to go to the top 20.
Dude, I just got a crazy idea from what you said, and so this is what Will talks about. Is as people talk, my brain's like. Drrr. So if somebody's listening to this and wants to start, go get yourself the tax delinquent list, right? Go get get the ones that are larger as far as amounts owed, and drive them. Go drive them and see if they're vacant.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're vacant, then skip trace it, right? Because now you found that they're tax delinquent. So there's economic pressure. There's also the vacancy. I mean, nobody wants a vacant house. So there's something there. There's some pain point there.
Well, that's a lot of vacant houses in Harris County, so let's scale that down a little bit to make it more manageable. Get the tax delinquent list and filter it for properties that are owned by the estate of. So now you've got tax.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway,
write that one down.
Anyway, there's a lot of different things you can do for free if you're willing to put that effort into it. And I don't want to give a lesson or anything like that for this, but it's all doable. It's do you have time and energy, or do you have money to throw at
right.
it? Whatever you're willing to do.
Right.
You can do some of this from a computer if you can spend the money.
And there's no excuse, right? Because if you have a job, a 9-to-5 job, and you're sitting in front of a computer, you could do exactly what you said. I mean, it sounds like you don't even need to drive the house, right? You could do a lot of the research on your computer and your breaks where you're at the office.
You can do it from keyboard.
There you go. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many properties, how many thousands I've looked up on Google Street View.
There you go. That's a great idea. I never thought of that. That's a good one. I do Google Street View, of course, once we already identified that we're.
Once the lead comes in, you pull it up. You want to get an idea of what you're looking at, yeah.
But now you're giving me some good ideas about going outward, right? Do outbound marketing towards some of these. That's fun. That's maybe we'll call you in a few months. Hey man, let's have another. I need some more ideas. Let's have another session.
We'll make this our public one-on-one mastermind. But well, that's the other thing. So and this is kind of veering off in a different direction, but you're in a paid mastermind, I believe. Are you still in the boardroom?
No, I'm not. I was in the boardroom. I had to leave because so my wife has muscular dystrophy, and so her disease has progressed a lot. And so I spend a lot of time when I say lifestyle driven business, I literally mean that I have to work from home because in case something happens to her, I'm here, right? And so I had to leave boardroom, which I love. I mean, it was well worth it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. But the traveling is what's I can't leave for 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
And so
you were willing you had the money, you were willing to invest, and that was education. And
oh, dude,
it was worthwhile for you.
Oh, dude, if you're in a mastermind and you didn't find an idea on how to pay it for itself, you're not paying attention. Because I mean, I think on the first session, I got an idea on how to work with realtors that just I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars on at this point. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I probably bought about 15 houses. So yeah, I guess about 150 grand from one idea that I got from one member of the group. And everyone,
it's probably a one-on-one discussion off to the side.
No. It was in the middle of the whole thing. And you know what's funny is everyone else heard it. And so I took that idea, ran with it. And then on the very next session we had 3 months, I think 3 to 6 months later, that I went back, when I got up there and I said, well, I was, I got this idea from here. They're like, dude, you got that idea from here and you went and did it? He goes, yeah. And is it working? Yeah. Nobody else did it? He goes, no. So everybody else heard the same thing, but nobody did anything with it. And so, I'll say there's so many ideas out there. There's so many things that we could do that I think that's also, I think that's another thing that happens is we get, this shiny object syndrome, right? You start running in different directions. That's why I'm saying, like, man, everything works. Everything works. Bandit signs. I know guys that make 5 to 10 deals a month just on bandit signs. And some people say they don't work. Well, how many did you put? 50? I'm like, dude, you don't get it.
They're guys using
10,000.
6,000 or 9,000 a month.
Right, a month, right? So, but they're killing it. And so that's what I think, I could leave everyone here with something from the heart. It's like, look, find what you like. Don't do skip tracing because you want to do skip tracing because you have a membership. I mean, I got a ton of stuff that I pay memberships for. I got to go through it and actually get off. But a ton of memberships that I never use, right? Do what you feel works for you, what you enjoy doing. Like you mentioned, you got doing it because you're like, man, let me figure this out, and you went down that path. And because I think you're probably the pioneer, if not one of the pioneers of skip tracing. And it's something that resonated to you. I would have never thought of that. I mean, I got into online because it resonated to me. I knew about online. I knew it was easy for me to learn. It was easy for me to implement. It wasn't because I was the thing at that moment, right? The thing, in fact, if anything, online marketing is bigger now than it's ever been, and I'm not on it. And the reason I say that is because it's whatever you feel you connect to. Because don't forget that at the end of the day, we're in the problem solving business. If you don't enjoy solving problems, this is probably not the right business. If you don't enjoy being around people, this is not the right business for you. I'm not saying that you're the one that has to run to every appointment, and that you couldn't hire people for that, but it kind of comes back to the exact same thing. If you're not solving sellers' problems, you're solving the employee problems. So it goes back to how many problems can you solve in a day? The more problems you solve in a day, the more money you'll make.
Yep. That's it. Like I tell people all the time, we get paid to solve problems, especially a lot of our guys get into, if you go the more targeted route, you run into some crazy title issues. It take a while to clean it up, or people issues. You talked about the personalities involved sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, that's
in prison.
Yeah, that's how we make our money. That's what we get paid to do. And it's just a matter to what extent. But there's a lot of truth to what you just said there.
Man, I tell you, for everyone out there listening and hearing, I want them to also understand that if you're going to get into real estate, you need to be, don't be a dick, right? And I say that bluntly because, like you said, we've never personally met, and yet we're planning a fishing trip together. I have friends from the mastermind that are all over the country. If I land anywhere, I pick up the phone. I went to Miami with my wife for a treatment and happened to be down there, and I knew Chris Chico was down, and so I reached out to him on Facebook. I mean, it wasn't like we're friends or anything. I just reached out to him, and we got together and ended up having we were going to meet for an hour and ended up being 4.5 hours. So enjoy what you do, right? It's enjoy the journey. Don't worry about the money will come. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy everything you do. The ability to. I mean, it's Friday at 2:00, and we're sitting here. Neither one of us really with any major problems having to solve, and everything's kind of working. So it gives us the ability to sit here and talk to each other. And again, hopefully, it helps people out there to understand that. I'm doing it because I want to help people. I'm doing it because I want people to take away something that maybe my story resonates with them, right? And I won't resonate with everybody. You know, I know that for a fact. But I'll resonate with somebody, and that one person needed that conversation. Man, you don't know how many times I've been down and out, and I listened to somebody's podcast, and there's 1,000 of them, but I listened to somebody's podcast, and that got me past that day, right? Sometimes it's just getting past that one day. And but I hope that's what people take from this is don't get a subscription, drive for dollars, pull a list, find the people, and start tomorrow. Don't wait. Fuck today. Because hell, you can pull a list and have it skip. You can do skip tracing on your computer. So I forget because we send out lists. We send bulk lists to you guys. But I know that we've done it in the past where I just pull that one name, right, or that one street name.
Just log in and do
it. Yeah, I'll pull up the address and just And when I'm talking about calling, I'm literally saying that I get back to my office, I pull up the information, run it through your dashboard, and start calling. I don't even write the numbers. I just start calling all the numbers and seeing if I can get a hold of those people. People are scared to death about calling. That's the one thing I'll tell you. I think one of the biggest challenges for anyone listening here is they're going to be afraid to call. They're going to be afraid to call people. Dude, if you find a motivated seller, they're going to be thankful that you called.
Yep.
If you're talking to someone that's not motivated, get off the phone. Don't even say goodbye. And Will laughs about this all the time. It's like, dude, you're such a hard ass. It's like, they're not enjoying my conversation with me, so why even say goodbye? There's no point in formalities at that point. Just get off the phone and move on to the next person. So, don't overthink it. Just call. And again, dude, for those of you who've actually talked to a motivated seller, you know what I'm talking about. They are excited that you called. And so if you don't hear that excitement, just get off the phone.
Now, just to add to that, I hate cold calling. I've done a ton of it. When I started out, I was a solo operator. I'm not a sales guy. I hate sales. I hate negotiating. But obviously, if I'm the only person, I've got to do it all. But my motivation, especially after I did my first deal, I'm like, okay, there's $20,000 on the other end of this line. There's $50,000.
Yeah.
There's $70,000, $80,000, $150,000. These are real numbers. These are real deals.
Yeah, I know. I've seen your deals.
And it's that's my mindset is like, I don't know which dial it's going to be, but it's on the other end. If you can't get motivated for that, you need to go do something else.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it forever. The goal is deals, and then you can pay somebody to do the calls for you. But,
man, especially if they're new, right? I mean, do you know how much someone's life could change with a $10,000 check? I mean, I'm not above saying that in the beginning when I first started, a $10,000 check was big impact, right?
Yep.
Now they kind of get used to it, but I'm still not above saying that I get excited as hell. I mean, and you're right, that hunter mentality, right? If I make this call, I'm gonna get paid $1,000. And what I mean by that is, if you're calling the right leads, we found that it's about 20 calls to get to a really good lead. So if you're calling 20 people and you're going to make a $20,000 assignment, look, let's tone it back. Let's say $5,000. Okay. If it's $5,000 that they're going to make an assignment fee because they split the assignment fee with someone and because they don't have any clue. I'm talking about you have no idea what to do. So when you find somebody, split the deal with someone that knows how to do it. Right. So that way you get paid. But if you're talking about your share of that is $5,000, if you call 20 people, you should end up in an appointment. So what's that equate to? Is that $250 a call?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So every time you dial, you're getting paid $250. You're just not going to cash your check till a month or 2 months from now. But you're literally throwing money into a savings account that the moment you get in front of a seller, and if you start thinking that way, every call is $250 going towards that account that you're going to get paid eventually. Dude, how many people can I call today? Yeah. If you did a check for $250 every time you hung up the phone, how many calls would you make? And that's all. That's if you start it's about perspective, right? Think of it.
That's a great way to frame it. Is like that each of those dials is money, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean it is, right? And so you just pointed out you have 100 There's a $150,000 check out there waiting, and it's just a matter of you calling. What would you do? Dude, I'd hire people to call for me.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying to go do that. I'm just pointing out that if you had the ability to that you're going to eventually hit, because you're going to hit, just start doing it. And that's what I learned. That's one thing that I did learn early on was, if you trust and you put in, it's a lot of work. You put in all the hard work into it, it pays off, and it pays off in huge dividends. And so that's why Will, jokes about it, because I don't think, what is it? Fuck it, let's do it. So we started implementing right away. Dude, we're busy. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll go hire a couple other VAs and get them to start doing it. So by us thinking about it, we lose traction, right? So I'm more of a let's do it, and if it doesn't work, kill it. I don't think that everyone out there has that ability. I get that, but I think if people, I'll give another analogy. If you knew you had an ATM machine that if you stuck $1 in, it spit $4 back every time you do it, how many times would you do that?
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's right. I'd borrow money to do it, right? Yeah. So that's exactly what marketing is. For every dollar you put in, you should get $4 back. So if you start realizing and understanding that, and how much money would you put into it, that's where I'm saying, like, dude, $30 for a pizza could be 30 skip traces. And I'm telling you, it should take about, my friend says 100 houses for new people to buy a house, to contract a house. So you're talking about 3 pizzas is your freedom.
Yep.
Start doing it. I mean, dude, there's stuff laying around your house that you could, I'm taking a page out of Dave Ramsey's playbook. Sell something. Sell the dog. I think he was talking about. Sell something so you can get the money to go skip trace and make some money. Do some deals. So.
Yeah, there's a funny story. I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly Sylvester Stallone literally sold his dog. He was dead broke right before he got the manuscript sold for Rocky. And once he sold the script and he got the starring role and all that, he went and bought his dog back. Sold it for $200.
I've heard it.
$3,000 to buy him back. That's how committed he was. He sold his damn dog, but he's like, I've got to survive today to get to tomorrow.
That's it. That's true.
Good. And
that's a great story, and it's true. I've heard that same story too, actually. So
yeah.
It's true. I'll tell you another one, and I'm not even kidding when I say this. I don't want to say the name out loud, but I know he doesn't care if I say it if I had to. But I know someone that was literally selling blood. They went to the blood banks and sold blood to get gas money to drive for dollars. And I'm not exaggerating this. There's, anybody's interested, call me and I'll tell you who it is, because I know he doesn't care. He brags about it all the time.
It's like I knew. For a different reason, I knew people in college selling their plasma.
So,
hey, Alex, we've gone for about an hour. I appreciate you taking the time to do this and for rescheduling because of issues on my end. But
no problem.
Just your diverse background, and then you explain your model, and then the right perspective on marketing. You're right. Treat it like an ATM. Every dollar you put in, you get $4 out, and all that.
Yeah, and a savings account, right? Throw money in it, and it'll start stacking up, and then one day you're going to go make that withdrawal.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's another way to look at it that it helped me. I mean, dude, even at this level, right? I'm sure you can appreciate this. Even at this level, the biggest problem we all have is our own head. We literally keep getting in our own way, because there's no lack of. And I'll say it again, dude, everything works. If you want to, I don't want to call, okay, text. Texting works. It works for us in a massive way. You don't like that? Okay, email. And that worked for us too. Knock on doors. I mean, I know that's a bit extreme, but it works, And so I'm just pointing out, like, do. Just do. Like Yoda says, try or not. I went blank here, but do or don't do, but do not try, right? Just do it. Just go out there and start doing stuff. And I hope that, it inspires somebody, because I was inspired by a few people. And I go back to Sean Terry. I mean, that guy just resonated. He changed my life. I told him that on stage. He changed my family tree, the way that I was before to now. Because one thing I didn't tell you in the foundation company, I literally ran all over the state selling foundation repair. So I was gone 5 days out of the week from my house. And so that's why I had to change. I had to find something to bring me back home. And that's where I wanted to do flipping. So I got it, again, started flipping to offset my income. And, flipping is great, but it's a slow check, right? Talk about deposits. You're depositing money to get a really big check down the road. That's where I started doing the wholesaling and that. But I had to make it work. I had a really big why. That's the thing. Another thing too is have a why. Have a really big why. My wife and my family are my why. And I'd say I had a money problem. I could fix a money problem with money. The only thing that fixes a money problem is money.
Yep.
So go get it. Go get it.
It's out there.
It's out there. And I've seen y'all's checks. You guys are definitely the big daddies on deal sizes. So.
Well, it's funny. The old expression, it's funnier. The harder I work, the luckier I get, and that's basically.
That's a good one, yeah.
That's the truth. You may know Mitch Stephen. I love his expression. You can't get hit by the money truck if you're not standing in the street.
Yeah.
Taking action, whatever. Even if you don't know what to do, go do something. You might drive through the neighborhood, drive for dollars, and see somebody moving a house or an estate sale. Hey, you want to sell? I'm interested. Whatever. Just take action. Do something. And it's amazing. Right. Activity generates more activity. And
absolutely, man. Dude, it's momentum. I'll bring Sean again. Dude, he calls it fracturing the universe, right? You hit the universe so hard that it just has to give you whatever you're asking for.
There you go.
But you got to start hitting it, right? And so you just take action, hit it. And dude, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail at anything you do. Everybody fails in something. So fail in this because this will help you. I mean, it's good business to be in. But just don't wait. There's no reason to wait. There's so much education out there. I mean, dude, you're giving this out for free. If I had somebody tell me some of the stuff that you guys teach, I mean, shit. I think people at this day and age, you have no excuse, no excuse for not succeeding. Just go do it. And again, that's what I hope, people, I inspire somebody to say, fuck it, I'm going to go do it tonight. Just literally get up from this.
You got me inspired to go do something.
Go do it. Yeah. So, but man, I appreciate you having me on, dude. I appreciate Skip Genie. I appreciate you and team and High, entire team. You guys are great. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of saying it. I mean, I do it because I believe in it. Every time I reach out to your team, hey, I need this, I need that, boom, done immediately. I'm probably it's funny because I'm like, hey, it's your favorite pain in the ass guy again. So I reach out to Donnie and them and hey, I need this request or I need that request. That's another thing too. That's funny, but so for those of you that have multiple. They're going to try multiple strategies, whether it's RVM, text blasting, cold calling, whatever. Every platform has a different format, right? So that's one badass thing about Skip Genie is we ask them, hey, dude, we're doing Mojo. Can you give it to us in a format to put it in a Mojo? Yeah, here it is. Boom. Hey, man, we really need it in text. We use this other one for text blasting. I need it in this format. Oh, okay, no problem. So they give us the Mojo list and they give us the other list. And that's why I've never had a problem paying when people say they're expensive. Like, dude, if you're doing one transaction, yeah, maybe. But even at that point, you're talking about 20 cents. What the hell? I mean, if you don't have 20 cents, get out of here. So,
it's kind of like it's so simple in my mind. Obviously, call me biased, but we're going to help you get more deals one way or another. Either because we're saving time, because of the user-friendly things we can do on the formatting and the data and getting the stuff to you, or just we have a more complete data set or the quality of the data we provide.
Dude.
Get you in contact with somebody you couldn't get in contact with otherwise. And we had a guy the other day just signed up, I think last couple of months. He was on our weekly call. He was at a dead end. He's like, yeah, you helped me get that deal. It felt, it basically was dead. We helped him ultimately get the deal. It was like 20 grand. He goes, as far as I'm concerned, that's my skip tracing for life. He's like, it's paid
Yeah.
for life. So he's
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, so I don't use this, but I know that if you're mailing out and you're not skip tracing the return mail, you're retarded. In fact, let me give you my address, 11815. Send it to me. Send it to Skip. In fact, I'll tell you what. I'll put this out there. Send it to Skip Genie. Send me the bill. As long as you share that data with me, you'll have it too. They'll give it to them, but send it to me too. I'll pay for everybody's skip trace mail they want. And I'll tell you why, because they don't realize how powerful that information is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, man, dude, there's so many ways to make money in this business now. It's crazy. And Skip Genie, so I was just about to add to that. Dude, do you realize how freaking crazy it is? This is something that I don't think people understand. I used to have TLO, right? And obviously, you know, those of you that know how to skip trace it, TLO. So I used to have TLO. Forget about the cost. One thing that was mega badass about TLO is you go to your office, punch in the address, and poof, the information was right there. Every other skip tracing company out there, you have to send it in, and then they send it back to you a day or two later. You could literally leave your house right now, which I'm instructing people to do. Leave your house right now. Go drive around your neighborhood. I guarantee you there's a vacant house. Look for it. You find that house, come back, put it in the Skip Genie, and skip trace it. And you'll get the information to call those people right then and there. Yep. So that is awesome, because I know that there's no other company out there that does that, where they give you instantaneous results. Because that phone call could probably get you a buy within the next 30 days. Yep. And it'll change your life, dude. It's a oh shit check that Sean Terry talks about. Oh shit, this works, you know?
Got me motivated. I haven't driven for dollars. I kind of miss driving for dollars, to be honest with you.
Dude, I love it. I still do it, yeah.
It's like you see a house that's vacant in the bank. Oh, what's going on with this? You start getting excited, like it's the thrill of the hunt. And then, you go home, you start researching it.
Oh, man, yeah.
Pull a report and you figure out the owner lives, in Alaska, or the owner died and their son lives in North Dakota. It's just all of a sudden it's like bam, bam, bam. It's like a highlighted deal all over. It just, you can't. Now you're motivated to make that call.
Yeah.
They gotta want to sell.
Yeah. And anyone else out there that just one last tip. We were talking about salespeople, right? Anyone else out there that's looking to get into real estate and they just flat out can't come up with the 25 cents necessary to do a skip search, and they can't drive for dollars because they're whatever, but they still want to do it. You know what's funny? If you're good in sales, go find a wholesaler in town and tell them that you're willing to call and do it on a commission basis. And I don't know what the figure will be. Obviously, your commission splits will be different, but I'm just going to use a round number for the sake of the conversation. They give you $1,000 for making phone calls for them. You don't realize how much you're going to learn from making those calls, dude. That's worth. I paid people combined, the two mentors that I had, over $15,000 to learn how to make phone calls. I want you to grasp that. I paid $15,000 to learn how to make phone calls. You could get paid $1,000 or whatever figure you come up with to start calling for other people. If you do that, that's the hardest thing to do in this real estate game, is talk to people.
That's a great point. Get somebody else to pay for your education. That's what
Yeah. And you know what's funny is they got a vested interest in you too. So they're gonna help you. They're gonna make sure you make the right calls, that you say the right things, that you reach the right clients, and they're gonna want you to close a transaction because they're gonna get paid, and they'll probably get paid way more than you. Yeah, but so what, dude? How many of those you need to do before you can start subsidizing your own marketing, and then at that point you start taking off? Again, no excuse, man. Just no excuse anymore. You don't know how to drive for dollars? Watch a YouTube video, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, there's no shortage of YouTube University and podcast.
Right. Dude,
out there.
To this day, I'll tell you a funny story. And I'll let you go. I have horses. I have horses here on my property, and nowadays, vet bill is pretty high, right? So one of my horses has a cyst, for lack of a better word. And I'm like, who can take care of this for me? And so I started researching on YouTube, a lot of different, blogs and stuff. And so I got a YouTube video and it told how to do it. I'm like, dude, really? So I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, the horse isn't going to die. And it either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, I'm back to square one. If it works, it works. So we did it. Me and my daughter went out there and treated the horse, and it worked.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, YouTube, you'd be shocked at the stuff you learn off of YouTube. And I just go off the deep end here for a bit. But bottom line is, dude, anything you need to learn about real estate, you could learn in a YouTube video. And I'm not saying that's going to be the end all. I'm just saying that don't have excuses, have results. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you have money and can actually, impact your family.
Don't have excuses, have results.
Yep.
All right, Alex. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you. We went at this for a while.
Yeah.
Just so everybody, the key points for me, what I get out of this is take action. Don't just piddle around. There are no excuses. Take action. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try new things. Like you said, try it. If it doesn't work, kill it. Move on to the next. If something is working, can you do more of it? Put more money into it. Think about marketing as your marketing, you're investing. It's for every dollar of input, you should get X amount is coming back to you.
Yep.
So, you also got me motivated, and we even talked about Rocky's dog. So
I hear that. In the background coming. Thanks, Larry. I appreciate you guys very much. I enjoy working with your team. They're wonderful. I know I've talked to you. You've helped me a lot to get going on skip tracing. So I'll just say it out there. I mean, you're very accessible, dude. If anybody has a question about it, just reach out to Larry. I'm still shocked that people ask, and people that we know, do you know a reliable skip tracing company? Like, dude, are you serious right now? Because again, I've had TLO, and so one thing I want to say that I didn't say earlier, and I thought about it, I forgot to say. I'm not saying that skip Genie is better because we have friendship. Dude, I've literally went out and bought the exact same list. So we took a test list of 300 names, and we skip traced 300 names against 4 different skip tracing companies. And that's why I'm saying, like, look, to me, it wasn't even about the data being so far off. Yeah, there was some off the deep end that not even the same data. But I had a few, and I narrowed it down to about 4 that were kind of sort of the same data. So at the end of the day, even the data wasn't all that different, but the amount of data that we got. Yeah. It was just phone numbers. It wasn't no address. We didn't know if it was a landline or a cell phone line. Dude, it was bare essentials. So that's why I stayed. And for the record, I've been with Skip Genie when they were $1 a search.
Yeah.
Now it's so much cheaper. Like, dude, now I can buy 4 for the same $1, right? And so you go into 15 cents, like, dude, 15 cents. Unless you're pulling fucking 100,000 names, you're pulling 1,000 names at 10-cent difference between 15 to 25, which is what I know the going rate is about 15 cents, and you guys 25 that you guys charge. It's like, dude, it's like fucking $100. If $100 is gonna break this deal for you, don't do it. You need that 100.
Yep.
If you're gonna do it with the best possible data. It's because what you don't realize is now that it starts getting expensive when you start reaching out to people, not when you skip trace. Yeah. The expensive part is reaching out to people. Dude, you're going to start reaching out to people that you don't get to. Make sure you reach the people by start with the data. Start with the quality data, so to speak. And, I didn't think about it when you said reduce the amount of people you reach out to. Instead of reaching out to 300, reach out to 50. But high targeted, right? And we don't do that. I got to talk.
Well, you've got a different model too.
Yeah.
Now, if I have a very tight budget, it's about how can I get the most bang for my buck. So that's a little bit separate thing. But
and I know we were logging out, so I just want to say that again. I thank you guys very much. And if anyone needs to reach out to me, I'm Alex at fasthousebuyers.net. You can reach out to me via email, Alex at fasthousebuyers.net. And I hope I motivated somebody. Let me know that you saw this and then I got you fired up and you started playing Rocky and started running out driving for dollars.
I didn't think nothing more. You got one guy right here. You got me motivated.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, Alex. I appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.